it's you can see the heartfelt connections if you go on Facebook and see what former players and staff members. I got a call yesterday from just so happens the first Black assistant coach hired in basketball at West Virginia, Ron Brown, who came from New York City, and he called me because of Coach Ford's passing, and he said, when I came to Morgantown, I came from a very diverse environment to an environment that wasn't very diverse, and it was Coach Ford. At that point, he was in athletic administration that just rolled out the red carpet, made me feel very comfortable to be here, and Ron Brown enjoyed his time at West Virginia, and then what he did is he was the primary person that brought the great Chris Brooks from New York City to come to West Virginia. Chris did a great job, obviously, as a basketball player and is in the WVU Hall of Fame. So, these dominoes connect. They are dominoes. And, just a terrible loss. And then, Darren, if you could put up the graphic of our other icon, Richard Bell. And I got a chance to meet him and interact with him. And Greg, you had him on your show probably about 2 years ago, I guess, right?
Yep, sure was. Sure was. Another big loss.
This guy, you look at that picture to the bottom right, that is Coach Brown coaching at 80 years old. He passed away this week at 88, coaching at 80 years old at Prince Avenue Christian School in Georgia. And you can see at the bottom of that graph on the left, his coaching career spanned 1960 to 2017. When you think about that, what an incredible experience. He went to Arkansas, coached at VMI, went to Georgia Tech, and that's where he ran into Jim Carlin. And Jim Carlin brought him to West Virginia along with Bobby Bowden in 1966. And those are the guys that really engineered the turnaround of the Mountaineers at that time, had hit a patch where they needed to turn the program around. And then when Carlin left for Texas Tech after winning the '69 Peach Bowl, Richard Bell left West Virginia. He was a defensive coordinator here. He was a defensive coordinator at Texas Tech. And then when Carlin left Texas Tech after turning that program around and went to the University of South Carolina, first as the head coach, then as the athletic director, Richard Bell followed him to Columbia, South Carolina, again as defensive coordinator. And when Carlin stepped down as head coach, Richard Bell succeeded him in 1982. And so just an incredible career. If you talk with anybody who played under Richard Bell, they will tell you this guy was just had a phenomenal football mind, very, very tough. But you learned a lot. And his picture, that's the photo, Greg, that's on top there, is a photo of the 1969 coaching staff. That's the team that went to the Peach Bowl and beat, ironically, South Carolina. And he is in the middle of the top row. He's third from the right. That's Richard Bell back in 1969. And then at the bottom, that's Richard Bell in 2017. As I said, I got a chance to know him. I interviewed him for my football book. We talked a number of times over the years, and he was a gracious, caring man. And just to show you the kind of person he was, when he heard, and I'll stop with this, when he heard from the family that Jim Carlin was in his final days, he left Colorado, where he was living at the time, and made his way to where the Carlins were. And he was with Coach Carlin at the moment of his death. He, strongly committed guy, the kind of person you'd want as a family member, without question. He'll be missed.
Yep, super nice guy. I really enjoyed having him on my show and talking to him. It was so much fun and interesting. And like you said, just a solid person. You could tell by talking to him. And if I remember the story correctly, he said he was holding Carlin's hand when he passed away, and pretty touching story. And a very humble guy. You know, it was hard to get him to talk about himself. You know, he did tell where he coached, but you know, he wanted to talk about the people that hired him, and he talked about Carlin a lot. And you know, just a humble person and a great person, nice guy, and what an incredible career. You know, almost 60 years coaching. He dedicated his life to it, obviously, and was obviously really good at it. And it's a tough week, tough week. And I know Mountaineer fans across the country are mourning these losses, but we have to, think of the great contributions that these folks made to WVU and help build what it is today. You always have to keep that in mind. So we'll try to do that as we move forward.
You know, one thing I remember, Greg, when you had him on your show, Courtside, with Coach Chris, you had a closing for the interview segment. You had the 3 questions. Yeah. And I said to myself, hey, wait a minute, this guy is all about business. I wonder how he's going to do. I'll tell you what. You could have asked him a physics question, and I think he would have been able to answer it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. He had no trouble at all answering those questions. And some of those questions are pretty squirrely.
Yeah.
He was, you talk about legacy. And David Brooks once wrote about eulogy values. And he said eulogy values are different from resume values when you're trying to get ahead, get a job, get a promotion. And I'll tell you, Richard Bell, just 100% eulogy values. And my understanding is there's going to be, and I'm going to read this, there's going to be a graveside service in Little Rock, Arkansas at the end of December. And then there will be a remembrance in Athens, Georgia, at the University of Georgia in the middle of January. So, we're going to miss both of these guys. They made a real impact.
Yep, sure will. And I remember asking those questions always, when I'd have folks on like that I didn't know real well or didn't know at all and weren't familiar with them, especially somebody who's, serious. I always pondered, all right, do I ask these questions or not? But I made a vow back when I started doing that show. I said, no matter who they are, they get the questions. So I didn't hold back, and he did either. Great answers, and it was a lot of fun. I need to go back and rewatch that again. That was good stuff. Good stuff. Got a lot of stuff going on, as always, with our programs. And man, I tell you what, I watched this basketball team, and they seem really good, and then they end up losing games that you think, man, we could have won that game and should have won that game. This week, no different with Ohio State, and had that game looked like under control. We were rolling along and kind of fizzled at the end. We have the same problem, Frank, we've had in past years, and that is we have those dry spells 4, 5, 6 minutes when we don't score. And the other night against Ohio State, we had a 16-point lead, and we went 7 minutes, I think, without a field goal. And, man, it's hard to win like that. And I think it's a talented team. And, I mean, you see some real talent out there, some good shooters, some good athletes, some big guys, strong guys, quick guys. But at times just struggle a little bit. So hopefully they'll get the formula, find it, and get it going when the Big 12 season kicks off.
Yeah, it's difficult, I think, for Mountaineer fans because there was a lot of enthusiasm, particularly that big home win over Pitt. Yeah. They did a hell of a job in that game. It was definitive. Yeah. It wasn't a close game at all. They looked really strong, and the Mountaineers have not yet beaten a Power 5 or 6, depending on how you count them. I usually think 5 with the Big East. But they haven't won one, and I thought they were going to get. Ohio State, but I think as a coach, couple things. First of all, and you've said this 100 times, they play good defense. It's tight defense, and that was showing up early against Ohio State, and certainly going into the second half, it's the offensive side. And related to that, and you and I have talked about this, and that is, and maybe the sort of the extreme is if you've seen the University of Iowa play this year, that's pretty much Drake's team from last year, which is obviously a mid-major, because the head coach that replaced the coach that left, blanking on his name now, who went to Penn. Any rate, he was the coach at Drake, and the first thing he did was to bring a lot of his players with him. But that's what we have at West Virginia too. When you think of people like Eaglestaff, who played at mid-major North Dakota, and you think of Huff, who also played at a mid-major, as well as Lorient. Moore played at St. Bonaventure. They're good players. They're learning how to play with each other. And what we don't have now is what we had at the beginning of last year, where we had a really good point guard and shooting guard in Small, and a really good wing in DeVries. And right now we're searching, is it going to be more? We've got 3 guys in double figures. Obviously, Huff is a talent, but you can't rely on a 25, 28-footer all the time, even though he's almost a musician. I mean, he's just phenomenal. But and the next game is going to be really not at home, but the first Big 12 game is against Iowa State at Iowa, I think on the 2nd of January. And you saw what Iowa State did to Purdue. At Purdue, they just cleaned them. And so we just have to be patient.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, we're talking about offense and defense. They do play really good defense. But, I've been around it enough to know when you can't score, it really deflates your team, and playing defense is difficult. It's really just effort and getting after it. And after a while, if you can't score, that starts to wear you down, mentally. And I think that's been a little bit of a problem for them because it seems like when they get in those scoring droughts, the other team starts scoring. And that's what happened with Ohio State. And then when we finally got our legs back under us, it was nip and tuck the rest of the way. Probably should have won the game, had opportunities to win a couple of times and just couldn't quite get it to fall. But yeah, that's tough on the team when it's a lot like football. When your offense sputters, the defense struggles as well because they're on the field so much. Well, in basketball, when your offense is struggling like that, your defense just kind of loses its mojo, if you will, and it makes it very difficult to keep up that intense defense. And I think he substitutes around trying to keep that intensity level up on the defensive side. But again, if you're not scoring, it's hard. And like you said, these guys they're talented. I mean, I think there's talent there. I think one of the things we look at, from the past year to now, I think, is we have a lot more talent, than what we had last year. Last year, we had a couple of guys could play. Obviously, John Small was an awesome player. But it seems like this year we've got, overall more talent. And you feel like we're going to be in games because we do play good defense. And, we just got to get, that production from our big guys. They're doing a decent job. I mean, they're playing pretty well. It's just those droughts that are getting them, and they've done that in a couple of games. Even the games they've won, some of these games they've won big. They struggle a little bit for a while and then kick it in and start going. But they've got to get that corrected. They got to figure out a way to stop those scoring droughts like that. And I think they're going to be fine. I think once they get used to playing with each other, more and more they play, the better they're going to get. And, I have faith in them. I think they're going to be pretty good before the year's over. Looking forward to the Big 12 schedule, getting into that because, how competitive that is. And that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think we both agree that Hodge is a good coach and that they'll figure it out. In fact, that's the foci this week and next. They've got one game before Iowa State at home against Mississippi Valley State. The thing that we always look for is we look for patterns. A situation that happens once, but when something happens repeatedly, and so against Xavier, against Clemson, and against Ohio State, and against Wake Forest, lesser so against Wake Forest. Yeah. It seemed like the other coaching staff was able to figure out, okay, now how are we going to approach them in the second half? And it worked. And in all those cases, a guy came forward and led the team in their comebacks. Each of those losses against those three teams, Clemson, Xavier, and Ohio State, very well could have been WVU victories. And I think if this group had more time together before those games, they very well could have been, because they were all close. On the other hand, the women are doing extremely well. A terrible loss against Ohio State. I thought they had that game, but they lost. They went down to College Station this last week, Greg, and just dismantled Texas A&M. And I looked at the schedule coming up in the Big 12. They open up against Houston at home on the 21st. So they'll get their first taste of Big 12 before the turn of the clock to 2026. But the team they've got to watch for, I don't know if you saw this, two women last night for TCU had triple doubles. Yes. Have you ever seen that before?
No, I haven't. And I saw highlights of the game, and they were. I mean, it was legit. They were they were both making plays, but I've never seen two get triple doubles in the same game like that. But they're pretty good, and you just hope as a opponent that you can hold everybody else down. Those two are going to do what they're going to do. You just got to stop everybody else. So, that girls' side is going to be fun to watch as well. And because, again, the Big 12 competitive and our team is going to be pretty good. Yeah, I think we can all tell that. I mean, we've had some inconsistencies, but again, I think, the more they play together, more time they get in together, the better they're going to be. And it's just people just have to be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day, and your basketball programs, your football programs, when they get cleaned out, it takes time to rebuild them, and it's just going to take a little bit of time. Now, Coach Kellogg has a little better grip on his because he's been there a little longer and has players coming back and that sort of thing. So I have faith that he's going to get everything worked out just fine with the girls. It's going to be fun to watch.
It is. And of course, all kinds of news in football with the great early recruiting. We're going to bring Mark in here, Mark Parsons, to talk about that. And my God, if you're a head football coach or if you're on the staff, it continues, because the portal opens the day after the first of the year and goes for 2 weeks. So we're winding down. There were a few. Actually, it was interesting. And Darren, if you could throw up that graphic that we sent you in terms of the recruiting, I thought we were pretty much done in terms of the rankings and so on. And lo and behold, Texas Tech got a few late signees, or at any rate, that were counted. And so now that's perceived or ranked by On3 and Rivals as the number one early recruiting class in the Big 12. They're ranked at number 20, and West Virginia is 21st. But if you look at what West Virginia's done, and Mark's going to talk about it, you look at the way in which that staff has lined up quality players across the lineup. They could be strategic this time, which they really couldn't be because they came in so late. But can we bring in Mark, Darren, and we'll get his good insights.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, fellas, how's it going?
Doing well. Mark had a little camera issue and couldn't get his camera to blow him up there a little bit, so he's going to be. We're just going to have a still shot of him, but as long as we can hear him, that's all we need. And if Mark is like me. He's got a face that's made for radio, not for TV or live streaming. So it should work out okay.
I've
Mark, I
done that a
know.
lot over the years, so yeah.
Yeah, me too. I have to. You obviously you follow the recruiting closely, and you know a lot about what we're doing and who we're getting and those sorts of things. So not to take up any of your time, I'm just going to turn it over to you. Talk about who we're bringing in, some of the players that you think are stand out, some of the positions you think are going to be much improved, and that sort of thing. Your overall assessment of the class.
Yeah, I hats off to the staff. I mean, I think they did a really good job. You had a top 20 recruiting class, highest recruiting class in the history of the program. We brought in a lot of players, and I really think there's going to be several out of this class that are going to probably start from the get-go, or at least get a lot of time and work their way into the starting rotation. And I'm going to kind of go over, get a little overview here of several of those guys. Of course, first off the bat, offensive tackle Kevin Brown from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, was originally committed to Penn State, flipped to us. The word is he's going to start at right tackle first game. And they said he's ready to go, kind of just similar to Frazier and Milam the past, couple of years. So I think we got a good one there. I think that's going to be a solid that was a solid get. And I think, another one is Matt from Pennsylvania is Matt Seg. I think it's how you pronounce it, from outside of the Pittsburgh area. He's a safety. He's another one that should start at safety from day one. He also has some extra assets to him. He can help with the return game, as far as punts and kicks go. And he's also, they might look at him at using him some at a slot receiver position. So he may be a well-rounded person who's athletic that they can use in several different spots. They're also bringing in a running back from Georgia, Amari Latimer. And he's 6 feet, 228 pounds. He flipped from Wisconsin. That was kind of that snuck up on us there. Wasn't a lot he wasn't even on the radar. The word is he's going to be right there in the top of that rotation. If he doesn't start, he's going to be probably the second guy off the bench to come in there. But he is going to get some competition from another running back they signed, JUCO kid out of Fort Worth, Texas, Martavius Boswell. And he runs a 4.32 in the 40. And that's the second fastest time on the team. And that's something we've lacked since, the Tavon Austin days. We haven't had that kind of speed in the backfield. So one of those two guys I think is going to get the nod. Then you have Sincere, who's coming back from last year, will be in the mix as well. But I think these guys here are going to, as we roll along in the season, I think they may take that spot over. And then we also have a wide receiver, Kendrick Triplett out of Florence, Alabama. The word is that people seem to think he's going to give Rodney Gallagher a run for his money on that receiver slot. And, after a few games, he may overtake him in that spot. So we'll see how that plays out. Another wide receiver, Greg Wilford from New Orleans, Louisiana. He's going to be a good receiver. He may be a year or so away to develop into that role, but he will give immediate help in punt and kick return. So I think we're going to get, that's been a rough spot for us the last couple of years as far as our kickoff and punt returns. And I think we're really going to end up turning that around this year. I think we've got a couple of good guys that give some options there. And they also brought in another wide receiver, Keon Hutchins. And he was if you follow recruiting, he was a recruit out of Mississippi that was at a JUCO. He committed and then decommitted and then surprisingly signed on signing day. but he has breakaway speed. He's the fastest kid on the team right now at a 4.21 40, and I think that's going to get him some time in there. Not whether or not he'll start, I don't know, but I think he's definitely going to get in the rotation. And that's, we haven't had that either in a long time at the receiver position. Separation has been something we just have not been able to do, and I think with that speed, I think he can improve that. Now, with all these puzzle pieces we have, there's still some more pieces to complete the puzzle. And what I'm going to kind of go into next is, we had just had the signing day for high schools and junior colleges. Now we've got the portal coming in, as Frank said, on the 2nd of January, and we're going to have some spots to fill there. And I think that's what they're gearing towards this portal. They're really going to look to fill some areas of need. The offensive line, we have Cray at one tackle, we have Brown at the other tackle, and we have Livingston at center. Our guard play last year, that's where the problems were. That's where there was no push there, and that really hurt us. And I think the goal is going to be to go in the portal and get, spend that money and get a couple of strong guards to come in there and fill that gap. I also look for them to probably sign a total of 4, but I think they probably will sign a couple of backups as well out of the portal. And then also on the defensive, another thing on the offense too, Livingston's the only center on the roster. So we're going to have, there's a need there to bring in somebody that can be a backup center. And one of the, the guys they bring in as a backup role to kind of, develop over the next couple of years, they probably going to look at somebody who can play, multiple spots on that line, who can help with center and fill in at guard as well. And then on the defensive side of the line, we have a couple of guys coming back, but depth is an issue, and we really need to get taller and bigger and faster in that area. And I look for them to sign 4 defensive linemen to try to out of the portal if we can. Now, we did get a couple of JUCO guys that will help, but you can always use a whole bunch of linemen to get things going. The thing is with the offensive defensive line, to get in that rotation, you really have to develop your body that first year and get stronger, put on a little weight, and get acclimated before you really get in there. But I think that's an area they're going to target as well. They're looking probably to add a linebacker, a quarterback. They're going to have to add a quarterback. They're looking. I know they've looked at a guy out of the University of West Georgia, I think, who originally signed with Florida and then transferred out, who was a 4-star coming out of high school. They're also looking at Old Dominion's quarterback, who's a graduate transfer. I've heard he is probably going to go to Virginia Tech, is what I'm hearing. And then they also talked to a quarterback at Harvard. But just this week I uncovered, and whether this comes to fruition or not, we'll see in the future. But the word is that the backup quarterbacks at Missouri and Oklahoma are both interested in coming to Morgantown. And I think they need somebody to come in there to push the starter, to make him give it more competition and force him to get better. And if things don't work out, it's somebody that can come in there and maybe take over that starting spot. Fox did a good job, but he had some up and down games. And he may be the quarterback of the future, but I think it's good to bring a veteran in there that's got some playing experience. I know the guy at Missouri, due to injury, he started several games, and I think he's going to be somebody's going to get a good one, whoever gets him. Again, on the secondary side of things, we lost everybody pretty much. They're saying they're wanting to try to sign 4 defensive backs. I have seen where they did talk to cornerback at Slippery Rock, which is a Division II school, and everybody says, well, Yeah, it's Division II. That's not Power Four, but he's gotten looks. He's getting recruited by everybody under the sun. He's getting offers a lot of places, so he must be fairly good. So that's one they're looking at. And then I just uncovered yesterday that I saw where the Latimer kid that we flipped from Wisconsin, the running back, his brother's at Wisconsin. He's entered the portal. He's a defensive back, and he has ties to Rodriguez. He played at Jacksonville State for 2 years, and he played 1 year under the current defensive coordinator of WVU. So there's a tie there, and that's somebody I would keep an eye on that we may get him. That might be a good get for us. They're also looking at maybe adding another wide receiver. I have heard that they're trying to flip a 4-star receiver who had committed to Michigan State. And with the coaching change, he's still committed, but he's looking elsewhere. And they're trying hard to flip him. We'll see how that pans out as well. And then they're also looking to add a tight end to the number they have. Coach Rodriguez says he wants to sign 12. I really think we're looking at probably closer to 18, maybe 20 in that. I think he's going to sign more than that. We've had a considerable amount of people leave, and not as many as last year. We had 80 last year. I think we might fill 70 spots this year. So it won't be quite as many, but I do look for him to add a few more than 12. And then in regards, to the February signing day, I think they're probably looking at possibly 2 to 3 high school players out of that. But I think they're probably going to take a long, hard look at what they couldn't fill in the portal side of things and try to come up with some junior college help there as well to fill some of those spots. And I look for that to be, kind of the makeup of that class. I don't know how many they'll sign of that. It really all depends on what they get in the portal, and we'll see how that goes. You can sugarcoat everything all you want, and everybody says, well, this year we're going to sign less players and everything. But we've had a lot of, we lost, 40 seniors, and we've had some guys leaving. There's going to be a lot more leaving here as the portal comes open, and I think there's still a lot of holes to fill. And, of course, as far as next season, again, it's just like this year. It all depends on the chemistry and how well they develop and adjust our system, as far as for next season. Now, we're returning 4 on offense and 4 on defense. You're having to replace quite a few players there on both sides of the ball. So, we are kind of living and dying by the portal, so to speak. I mean, he doesn't want to say that, but we are. And I think that's true for most schools now, maybe except for Clemson. He won't admit it, but but I think they're really going to have to hit the portal to fill some of these slots. One thing I don't know whether if it'll come through or not, but Jordan Scruggs, he was a cornerback. I think he transferred from South Alabama last year, and he started, and he is asked for another year through the NCAA. He had a JUCO year, and of course we had 4 players that were granted an extra year back in the middle of the season. Of course, it took the middle of the season to get them, approved. But with this player, if the NCAA rules again that they can do that this year, that was a 1-year ruling. If they can do it again this year, and where he's way ahead of the game, hopefully he can get that answered and kind of get ready to go this summer. If he can get awarded that extra year. My thoughts on it. On a positive note, I think we have a really good opportunity next year. We have 7 home games. That's excellent. And those 7 home games are all winnable games. Not saying we win all 7, but they are winnable games. We have a neutral site game against Virginia. I don't know what they're going to be like. UVA is losing the quarterback and their starting running back, so I don't know how they're going to be. But there's an opportunity. On the road now, they do have 4 tough road games. It's going to be hard to get one on the road, but I think next year, they could get 6 to 8 wins, and but again, it all depends on how these how these pieces to the puzzle fit together, and everything comes along. I'm just hoping. I'm hoping we get. The big thing is the line in the secondary. They've got to get some help there at the guard position and the with the cornerbacks and safeties. So, any questions?
You think? I know looking at the original recruiting, not the JUCOs, but is he bringing? Do you feel like he's bringing more high school players in? And as to lay that foundation and just trying to put the pieces together for the time being, and then develop the program that way. Is that the goal here?
I think that's what he's trying to do, and I think that's, in theory, that's what you want to have happen. But the problem is, in the nature of the beast now with this portal, you got to keep them, and you've got to pay him money. Unfortunately, you got to keep them. A lot of the guys who play early and do well. Somebody comes along and picks them off, gives them more money or promises some additional things, and they're gone. But that's the thought is, yes, he wants to develop it that way through the high school players. And, to hear Pat McAfee tell it and Rodriguez tell it, we have money out there. Let's see how it all works out, because that's what it's going to come down to. I think that's the way to go. We just got to be able to keep them.
Yep, that's the tough part. Frank, you want to jump in? I don't know if Frank can hear me or not, but
Frank, I can't hear you.
Might be muted.
No, it was me. I push the button. At any rate, I'm getting a lot of feedback here. Let's see if we can fix that. I think we're okay now. It worked.
Yep, sounds good.
At any rate, sorry, audience, for that. But when Mark was making his presentation, I was taking notes, so I turned my audio off, and that really was a great overview. I think a couple points. First of all, Craig, your question is really on target. I don't see Rich Rod doing what Coach Prime did at Colorado, where he feasted on the portal and did not focus on high school recruiting. I think that last year he had no choice, he being Rodriguez, to go to the portal to fill those slots. But this time, I didn't look today at the numbers, but last week, which I don't think has changed much, West Virginia had more commits during the early signing period than any other major college in the country. It's 49 now. And so that just shows you that he's very serious about that. The one question I wanted to ask you in terms of quarterback is that I'm in Florida right now, and the quarterback, a 3-star that we picked up, but he's in the top 10 of the recruits as evaluated by On3 and Rivals, surprisingly won a state championship in Florida. Have you looked much at him? Do you think he's going to be in the mix? Obviously, they have confidence in him, but when Darren put up the chart a few minutes ago, he is, I think, ranked by On3 and by Rivals. I think as the number there he is, the very bottom. So he's number 10. Jaron Hughley. What are you hearing about him, Mark?
I've heard good things about him. I've heard good things about the quarterback in New Orleans as well. Putting the true freshman out there is tough. You're going against guys who, Scotty Fox, he's seasoned. He's had a year under his belt. And if they bring in a veteran, it all depends how it's going to play out. But depending on who they sign in the portal, if they get somebody, I think he's going to give everybody a chance. I don't think anybody's off the chart. I think everybody's going to get a shot. People want to come and play at a school now. They don't want to wait and be an understudy for 2 years. They want to come and get playing time, and I think he'll give everybody a chance. I really do. And that works out sometimes. Look at Pat White. He was going to be a D-back at LSU, and Rodriguez said, "Well, we can't guarantee you'll be there forever, but we're going to give you a shot at quarterback." And look what happened. You got to give everybody a chance.
Yeah, you think about the connections of the networks. Obviously, we got a lot of players last year from Jackson State. The number one quarterback in the country by yardage this year, quarterback at North Texas, and obviously we have a lot of links with North Texas with our AD and men's basketball coach. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if you're gonna bring in an accomplished player like that, who'll obviously have to learn the system. Another
one would be worth taking a look at for sure. And I'm sure Rodriguez doesn't show his cards, and I think he'll pull a ring or two out of this portal. I think he's going to pull some surprises out of there, and it wouldn't shock me if he didn't get everything he was looking for. I mean, it looked like he did pretty good with the high school and the JUCO route, and I think he's already got some pieces that he's got in his in his wheelhouse to try to go after, and I think he's probably going to be pretty successful, I think.
Okay.
And
excellent.
Last year they did it out of necessity, and this year we're spot filling certain positions, and we have more money to do it with. And I hate that it's came down to that, but that's what it's all about. You got to have the money to buy the guys.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Greg, let me kick it back to you. I'm working with Randy, so we can bring Randy in to follow up the great work that Mark has done.
Yeah, Mark, I know you mentioned, I'm getting the feedback now, Darren. You mentioned the return guys possibly opening up a little bit of that speed. In the last couple of years, we basically just because
Greg, I can't understand you. I can't hear you.
Yes. All right. Yeah.
Okay. It's back to me. How about that? Well, we can do that. The one thing about our show that's always a challenge, we have lots of people who come on, and we're relying on systems all over the country. Right, just with us. I mean, Mark's in Tennessee, I'm in Florida, Greg's in West Virginia, and Randy's in Virginia. And Darren, he said he's ready to come in, that he's into the system. Do you see him there? And we'll bring him in, hopefully, if he says he's waiting to come on. So, but Mark, I think, one of the things that I really, maybe the major thing I liked about the way in which you approach this presentation is that you can see with Rodriguez that it's not scattergun. There's a systematic approach that he's taking, and even though he brought 49 people in the early signing period, it's clear that there are needs that exist. You identified a number of them. He'll hit the portal hard. The board has already indicated that they are committed from a financial point of view to make us competitive within the Big 12. So I'm not surprised what McAfee is saying. So, but I think that's the positive thing for fans, that this staff knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think he's been around a while. Rodriguez has been coaching for a long time, and he knows the climate, and he has a system, and he's got a good staff that's got a good head. They have good heads on their shoulder, and they know what they're doing. And I think people are just going to have to give them a chance to get going. Like I said, I'm saying 6 to 8 wins next year. Everybody else is wanting 10 wins. I'm trying to be realistic about this. If you're going to start building with that high school level of talent, you're going to have to take some bumps along the way. And I just think everybody needs to be patient and let the process play out, and we'll go from there and see how it all works out. But I think he's going in the right direction.
Hmm. Well, it's as we talked earlier about the basketball team, we keep on preaching patience, and it makes sense. But emotionally, obviously, as fans, we want to see the outcomes that are measured by winning as quickly as
Right.
we can. And and we've said this on the show probably 5 times, and that the 60-minute program, the 60 Minutes feature this last week with Signetti. Nobody, even up in Indiana, expected anything close to what has been yielded by Signetti and
Oh, yeah.
IU in 2 years. And so that changes everything. I mean, if Indiana can do it, which for a long while was the losingest major college football program
Yeah, it was.
in the country. Now Northwestern has taken over that because of the winning streak over the last 2 years. But, it is what it is. And sometimes, it always boils down to leadership. And we really have good leadership in Rich Rod. He knows what he's doing. Another indication, Mark, is look what Jacksonville State did. He left.
Yeah.
They won 9 games and won their bowl game last night. And so that's always a good sign when someone leaves, but the program doesn't take a nosedive after they've left. So I think we just have to see what happens next year. And this point was made last week by Cliff Hill. This next season is going to be, the 26th season is going to be the in-between. From his perspective, and I think Cliff is right, the important season is going to be the one after that.
Sure.
That's going to be that's sort of the trifecta. But
Yep.
Greg, are you able to have your audio? Is that fixed now?
I think it is. I'm not sure. I logged out, come back in. I think it's better now. I was just going to ask Mark, his thoughts about this. He was talking about some of the speed guys and return guys. It seems like in the past few years, we basically put somebody back there that we knew could catch the ball. And before that, we had trouble fielding the punts. Now they'll have trouble fielding them, but we don't get a lot of good returns because of the speed back there. So do you think that was if this is just some icing on the cake, or do you think that was something that was focused on?
Oh, I think it was focused on very much so. Other than Beanie Bishop, we didn't have any. I mean, Fox was very dependable. He didn't fumble,
Right.
but he looked like me back there running around, and I think they definitely targeted that. Yeah, I do. Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, I think
he wants to get bigger and faster and stronger in all areas, and he's doing that. It just takes time.
Yeah, I know you. You may not have an answer for this when I ask you, because you do follow this so closely. What is it that? What is the reason behind him being able to draw in these players like he has? I know money plays a factor, but we've talked about the money differentials between schools in the Big 12 and across the country. What do you think? What do you think he does that we haven't done in the past to get these players in?
Well, I think a lot of it is networking, and I think he's reached out to some old players to help. And I think those New Orleans guys that weren't even on the radar screen, nobody even been talking about them. And Darius Raynaud, a former player, was instrumental in helping him get to Morgantown. I think a lot of it is the connections you have and the connections you have in the high school market. There's a method to his madness on who they hired as assistants too. We've never been, we might have 1 or 2 guys west of the Mississippi every year. We're getting a lot of guys out of there, but we have coaches from that area now that can recruit those areas. And I think it's a combination of your connections, the staff you've hired. And I think, I'm partial. I'm from West Virginia. The people in West Virginia are genuine. And I think when you come to Morgantown, it's not for everybody, but once you get there and you feel the family feel in that building, it's hard to say no. I mean, I think he's good with the parents. I think he's honest about playing time. If he thinks you're going to play right away, if you're a project, or if it's somebody that, you may be a year or two away from, developing your body. I think he's honest with that. But I just think the atmosphere up there is something that's attractive. And then, of course, now we've got really good facilities, as good as anybody else's. And there's a lot of positives up there. And I think that's what it is. I also think Rodriguez, and of course, he's got several staff members that played there or coached there previously. They know the WVU they know the atmosphere and how things are at WVU, and I think we've lacked that with Holgerson and Neil Brown. Neil Brown was a great guy, but he wasn't from here. He didn't know the ins and outs and the history, and he did a pretty good job. But it's sort of like Bob Huggins. He knows the university. He knows what the fan base is like. He knows what the state's like, what people are looking for. And I just think that's I think that's an awful lot. That's a good thing to offer to people. I think it's attractive. All the players you guys have on here that I've helped you get onto the show and everything, that's one thing they always talk about. When I was recruited, I felt like family. And, there's no place like West Virginia. It just kind of grows on you. And I'm the same way. It's just I'm proud that I went there and worked there. And I'm just proud of the whole thing. I think it's a great program.
Yep, and it's good to hear that. That's encouraging. I've thought about that a lot. How are we getting these players? And yeah, you're right. He's been around a while, and he's been around the country, and he's got connections everywhere. So I'm sure that helps. And I know we've talked about the money a lot, and how some of these schools, they're so far ahead money wise that they're putting in the NIL than what we have. But just like I told Frank last week or week before last. When you look at that amount as a total, it is an average. And I said, so if you got $5 million and you get a quarterback for $1 million, that leaves you $4 million. If you got like West Virginia $3 million and your quarterback's not drawing in all that percentage of the money, you can spread it around a little bit more and probably get some more players in that regard. So it is an average, and it's not as dire as it seems. You know what I mean? It's
right.
Not it's not like these people are spending $5 million on every player because that's not feasible. So it keeps us in the ballpark, and it's encouraging to know that he has these connections and the coaching staff to go out and get these guys. So that is good. Frank, do we have Randy with us yet? I think I saw where he was trying to sign back in.
Yeah, that is a problem. Darren and I are both working on it. I'm communicating off screen with Randy. I don't know why he is not able to get in, but he says he's in the studio, but Darren does not see him. So,
Okay.
And I'm looking at the time; it's 8:00. So,
yeah. I was going to ask Mark if he wants to stick around a few more minutes, and we'll talk with him a little bit more if Randy can't get in. When you mentioned the quarterback, one of the thoughts I had, and I don't know again how you feel about this, but Scotty Fox didn't play bad. I mean, considering what he had to work with, you look at our receiving core, our offensive line. I thought Scotty Fox performed pretty well. And you mentioned some quarterbacks being brought in. Do you get the sense that Coach Rodriguez thinks that maybe we won't be able to keep him, or that maybe he's not quite there to lead us just yet?
I think he wants to have somebody there that can take over if he's not the guy. And I think he wants him to succeed because he's there and he's paid his dues. But if it doesn't work out, we need somebody to go in there and fill that role. It's not like it used to be where you could stay, 6 years and build a program, like Frank Beamer did, or and so forth. You're expected to win now, and he didn't have 6 years, and I think he knows that, and I think he wants to get the win now. And I think if Fox doesn't fill the shoes, and I think he wants somebody in there that can. And what Frank had mentioned earlier about signing somebody who's a veteran that's proven. There's two thoughts on that. I mean, one, yes, I think they can come in here and vie for the starting job and maybe win it. And then some other people are like, I've heard say, well, if you bring in a veteran that's going to start, then Fox is going to leave. And I'm like, well, it's kind of that's a double-edged sword. So I don't know how that, you got to kind of be careful there. So I really don't, couple different ways to look at that. So we'll see how it works out. But I think he's playing his cards to where he wants to have somebody that can fill that spot if it doesn't work out. That's my opinion.
Right. Yeah, kind of feel that way as well. And I think I think Scotty Fox gonna be fine. But like you said, is he going to be good enough to win now with, and if not, will he stay around long enough to get good enough? I think he has the talent. I don't think there's any question about that. I'm going to jump off the beaten path here just a minute and ask you another one. And again, I don't know if you know the answers to these or not, but look at our kicking situation. Frank and I have talked many times on here about the difficulties we have kicking the ball in the end zone on kickoffs. Is there any, and I don't know much about our kicker, the punter, pretty well known, but the kicker I don't know much about. Is there any kickers in this mix?
Well, late in the Head, the guy that transferred from Tulane, was doing kickoffs, and he wasn't getting in the end zone like he did at Tulane. And they switched that up a little bit at the end of the year and put in a kid from Fairmont. And he's, from what I understand, he's going to be the heir to the place kicking up there, to do both kickoffs and field goals. And then, of course, the punter, we signed another guy from Australia. And I think we're set there, but I think this kid from Fairmont's either looking. I haven't heard about him signing anybody else, but that that doesn't mean they won't, because, like I said, Rodriguez doesn't show what he's got. Sometimes it just surprises everybody. So
is the punter Oliver Straw is his name? Is he back again next year?
No, he's gone. But there's a guy from the same town, Perth, Australia. I'm sure he had to be instrumental in that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So who knows? We may end up having a pipeline from there.
Well, I don't know if I guess that's a good thing. It never hurts to have, you never know.
Coach recruit in that area. I know that.
Yeah, it would be bad, but
no, it'd be good. Yeah, it'd be good.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you guys too. Did you see today where the Big 12 now has came out and said everybody's going to have to play one Power 4 school per year, and our schedule's set in 2027. We dropped the Alabama series, and they picked up somebody in their spot. It was a group of 5, and now it looks like they're going to probably have to change that. I just wonder who they can get this late in the game, but it's going to have to be a Power 4 school. I don't know. And it's probably going to be the first game, which he doesn't want to do, but they may not have any choice.
Mm-hmm. Well, what, Mark? I'll just be frank, it pisses me off to hear stuff like that. I heard that, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Because this way, I understand what they're trying to do, and that is the image of the whole conference. And, those wins, when it gets down to time to pick the 12 or whatever they go to, 16, whatever school be, for the playoffs, they want to have that marquee name on the schedule for a win, hopefully. And you look at, you look in the SEC, for example, we look at Alabama. and I know what they're going to say. Well, yeah, but in their conference, they got Georgia and LSU and Florida, and I know all that.
Well, they're having to fix it too. The only one who's not doing it is the Big Ten. They haven't committed to it yet.
Yeah, and always, like the SEC teams, always. I mean, Alabama was known for playing the lowest of the lows midway through the season, and I just don't think that's. I don't understand the premise behind that, other than trying to make your overall look better. And
to be honest with you, for 10 years now, we played 2 Power 4 schools.
Yeah.
And nobody, Baylor's playing the Sisters of the Blind out there. And some of the other schools, give us a break now. We've had some scheduling issues and have it set. Let us stick with our schedule that year, and then we'll get back on it the next year. It's already scheduled. We got Pitt on there every year. It's going to fill that, but give us a break, for one season.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, the conference schedule, is tough enough. And, I've said all along playing, Penn State right off the bat in the first game of the year was bad, we don't need that. And like I said, the conference schedule is tough enough the way it is. And I guess when you're trying to build a program, you can do it partially through scheduling, help get some wins or some games where you get to see some players, which I think is good. And I think, these smaller schools that do that, of course, do it for the money. And now with the new rules, the new rules set up, they're allowed to use that money for NIL purposes. So it's good for those schools too, even though they may take a whooping, they still get paid, and occasionally they'll win one of those games. So I like that. And of course, I like a lot of things that used to be but aren't no more. So I guess no matter what I like. So all right, I'm gonna get Frank to jump back in here with me, and we get this thing wrapped up. I don't think we're gonna be able to get Randy on, Frank. I think with the time we have left, just me and you and Mark can ride it out.
Yeah, we face a new technology challenge, actually 2 tonight, not being able to bring Mark in visually, and we couldn't bring Randy in at all. And we apologize because we wanted to see Mark's face, and we wanted to hear what Randy had to say. Follows us very closely as a former Mountaineer. But absolutely. Mark, thank you so much.
Mark. Great,
and we always, we sing your praises for all the work you do for us, and the great, and you lined up another great guest for us that we'll have on January 7th. If you can put that up, Darren, and so we can see what our guest is going to be. There he is, DARRELL WHITMORE, who is an incredible baseball player and an incredible football player. And as Greg said at the beginning, we're going to be off the next 2 weeks because the Wednesday night would be Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. But, one thing, Greg, we should do, because we didn't have a chance to do it last week, and it's a nice bookend to starting the show with a remembrance, is to bring on someone who is the future. And we had Cliff Hill last week, and Cliff, obviously, as you know, and it was a great show you guys did, you and Mickey. Mickey's under the weather tonight, and that's not why he's not with us. But Cliff does a great job of getting promising high school players connected at the college level. Well, he has a son, Dawson. And so if you could throw up that short video, Darren, there it is. He's committed to Marshall. So for those folks who are, Marshall fans, you're going to see a heck of a football player. And I don't know do you have that video, Darren, back there that you can bring up? It's only a minute long, but let's see if you can. Okay. And we can show everyone. He was in the state, played for Nitro, and was in the state championship game. And Cliff put together some clips of Dawson during the year that they obviously used as he was looking around the country. And so Darren's going to try to bring that up. But they're building a good program down over in Huntington, and Dawson, Greg, I think is going to fit in just fine.
Yeah, I think so. He's a good football player, and lucky enough to watch the games. They were on TV, so I got to see him play. I didn't get to see it all, but I watched a lot of it, and yeah, he's a good player. In fact, there were several good players on the team. And all right, you ready? There it is.
He's a two-way player, so offense and defense. Watch these hits. He's in the dark jersey. Watch these hits coming up. Good defense. We could use that. There we go. Watch this. See you later. Boom. This one's even more so. See you later.
Oh.
So he's got, that's the end of it. But Congratulations, Cliff Hill. Always does a great job for us, and Dawson Hill. And it's great to see these. He's the future. Guys like Dawson they're the future.
Yep, he has good speed, and like you said, he'll hit. He's he's a good offensive player, but I really think defensive back's going to be his spot just because of his covering ability and hitting people, because he does hit. And he had a good game that night. It was a heck of a game. I think they got beat 36-35, I believe, if I remember correctly. Heck of a ball game. So, congratulations to him. I tell you, between Cliff and Mark, Frank, I know more about our recruits than I think I ever have, and we got more than most that we've ever had, and I know more about them now than I ever thought I'd know.
Yeah, no, they're very good, and they don't. There's no partisanship. I mean, they just do the analysis, and the thing about Cliff, which I think is just so great. When you think about when we were young and we were faced with making choices and learning the system that we didn't know, but we were going to be in. Can you imagine these young kids trying to navigate the nil and everything, revenue sharing, and have someone like Cliff Hill, former high school coach, who's really knowledgeable and is on a first name basis with the biggest names in college football. Yep. I mean, he can walk in the door. He knows Bill Belichick. He knows James Franklin. He knows all these coaches, Rich Rod. And he's just so knowledgeable and so straightforward. It's just those kids have a tremendous ally and mentor in Cliff Hill.
Yeah, and the one thing that gives you confidence in him, and if you had a kid, why you wouldn't want to talk to him, I don't know, but the thing that gives you confidence in him is the fact that he's from here, he's from West Virginia, his son played at Nitro, et cetera, but when he's working with these kids, he gets them signed everywhere. I mean, he's talking about the ones he had at Michigan, and he's had a couple at North Carolina, and I think 16 or 17 kids of his signed in different places. So it's not, like you said, it's not a partisan thing with him. He's not out there recruiting for WVU, but I mean, he gets kids to WVU, but he gets kids to wherever fits their needs the most. And I think that's a good thing about him, is that he's working with all these schools, not just West Virginia. And I mean, you'd like to have him just working with West Virginia, but he gets them all over the place, and that's great. And Mark's knowledge of these recruits and their history and that sort of thing just blows me away. I don't know. I could try to look up the information, still couldn't find as much information as he gives us on these guys, and so it's fun talking to him to hear all these to hear about these players coming in and what the plans are and that sort of thing. It's encouraging and it's fun to listen to.
Yeah, and Mark, as you know, is one of the best person to work with. I mean, he does everything really well, always on time, and cares deeply about West Virginia, the Mountaineers, and so on, and is really, really credible with the football, particularly the football, but also the basketball alumni. And so he's been a godsend for us.
Absolutely.
And so we wish him Merry Christmas and a Happy
Yep.
New Year. And the same to you, friend.
Yep. I appreciate the gift I got in the mail today. I've already started on it. And I said, what in the world? And I'd forgotten it was coming, and I opened it up and I was like, well, here's my book. So I started reading it already. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yep. And happy holidays to you guys. Make sure you tell Kathy we said Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And to everybody out there watching, same to you. And we look forward to coming to you again in 2026. We'll be off for the next couple of weeks, but we will be back with another great show. Darrell Hitmore Whitmore is his nickname back in college. Man, could he hit. And he could hit people and a baseball. So look forward to talking to him. That'll be a lot of fun. Frank, again, happy holidays. Great job tonight. As always, Darren, appreciate you. Happy holidays to you as well. We look forward to seeing everyone here in a couple of weeks on the Mountaineer Locker Room, then and now, right here on the New River Network and the Voice of College Football. So have a great evening and a great holiday season, everyone. Good night.